In this video, I shall explain the assessment criteria and the examples of suitable evidence which you can submit to demonstrate your competence against each assessment criterion. The unit 4 is Develop and maintain individual and organizational competence in health and safety matters. In this unit, there are total 4 learning outcomes. The first 2 learning outcomes include the assessment criteria, which shall measure your skill, while the third learning outcome includes the assessment criteria, which are designed to measure your knowledge and understanding. The last learning outcome is about your CPD. For all skill-based assessment criteria, you will need to submit documentary evidence from your workplace and provide a brief narrative of evidence that is your role in the subject activity for which you submitted the evidence. The documentary evidence of your competence can be the documents, records, pictures and videos, etc. Remember that your submitted evidence must be valid, authentic, current, sufficient and reliable. For knowledge-based assessment criteria, you shall need to submit a written response in your own words. Your response must be between 250 to 350 words against each assessment criteria. And for the learning outcomes related to the CPD, you will need to fill out the relevant form and submit to the assessor. There are 4 assessment criteria in the first learning outcome. We shall discuss each assessment criterion in detail, so you should know what each assessment criterion means and how you can demonstrate your competence against each. 1.1 is critically analyze the functions, activities, tasks, and job roles of the organization. To demonstrate your competence, you have to submit evidence that you can analyze the organization's functions, activities, and tasks and the job roles in context with health and safety. For example, what does your organization do and what is the administrative structure of your organization? What roles have been established at various levels and how effectively everything is able to achieve health and safety performance. Let's see what can you submit to demonstrate your competence. The organogram of your organization with your comments, how the administrative system is effective or ineffective in relation to health and safety performance. The job descriptions of key roles and your comments if they are effective or ineffective. 1.2 Identify the health and safety competence needs of the functions, activities, tasks and job roles of the organizations. You have to submit evidence that you can identify what are the training needs of the functions, activities, tasks and job roles of your organization related to health and safety requirements. In simple words, the functions are the departments in your organization. For example, the HR is a function, the manufacturing is a function, transportation is a function, and so on. To demonstrate your competence, you can submit results of training need assessments conducted for functions, OHS process, activities, tasks, or any job roles, or the training matrix developed as a result of training need assessment. Job specifications for key roles, which include the competence required for the specific job roles. You can submit any one of the above mentioned records. 1.3 Evaluate the health and safety competence needs of the organization and the individuals in the organization. To demonstrate, you have to submit the evidence that you can identify what competence the individual needs and what competence the organization needs, keeping in view the risk profile of the organization. You can submit the personnel evaluation form showing the result of competence evaluation for the individuals, the non-conformity reports showing the root cause due to the lack of required competence, incident investigation report findings that show the lack of required competence, workers' tasks observation report which was supervised by you to check if the task was safely performed by the individual, test or exam results related to health and safety concerning the related job of the individuals, etc. 1.4 is to address the health and safety competence needs of the organization. You have to submit evidence that you have provided or arranged the required training to improve health and safety competence of the individuals and the organization. To demonstrate your competence, you can submit the training matrix developed as a result of training need assessment, records of any health and safety trainings conducted in your organization, records of any inspections or monitoring to gauge the effectiveness of the training. You can submit any of the above mentioned records. There are 4 assessment criteria in the second learning outcome. We shall discuss each assessment criterion in detail, so you should understand what each assessment criterion requires and what can be the suitable evidence. 2.1 Establish health and safety competencies in the organization in terms of skill, knowledge, and understanding. You have to submit evidence that you can establish the key competence requirements for various processes which may influence health and safety performance. Your submitted evidence for assessment criteria 1.2 shall be sufficient to demonstrate your competence for this assessment criteria 2. 2.2 Design and develop training courses to meet health and safety competence needs for given groups and within agreed constraints to include budget, time scale, and staff availability. You have to submit evidence that you can design and develop the training courses to meet the requirements of training needs, and also you can manage the budget, time scale, and staff availability for those trainings. The evidence can be the training plan, including methods of delivery for the organization regarding the health and safety, contents of the training you designed and developed. 2.3 Deliver suitable training to meet the health and safety needs of individuals and groups in the organization. You have to submit evidence that you can deliver the training to meet the requirements of the training needs of the organization. You can submit the list of training or toolbox talks conducted over the last 6 months or so and the list of attendees, appreciation from the top management as a result of the health and safety training you conducted, pictures of training delivery with descriptions in your own words. 2.4 Monitor the effectiveness of training to make sure that the identified needs have been met. You have to submit evidence that you can measure and monitor the training effectiveness. You can submit the training effectiveness measurement form, letters from the managers, supervisors about any improvements in the health and safety performance after the training was conducted, fresh training need assessments which shows improvements when compared to the previous training need assessment, audit report which shows improvement in OHS performance after the training was conducted, management review meeting which confirms training effectiveness, or any other performance indicator which shows improvement in OHS performance after the training was conducted. The learning outcome 3 relates to the knowledge domain. It has 6 assessment criterion. The assessment criteria 3.1 of Unit 4 is critically analyze the nature and role of individual and organizational competence in health and safety matters within the organization. You have to provide your written response as follows. What is competence? What is organizational competence? How do individual and organizational competence play a crucial role in the health and safety performance of the organization? Your response must be between 250 to 350 words. 3.2 Analyze the structure of the organization with respect to functions, activities, tasks, and jobs. To meet the requirements of this assessment criterion, you have to submit your written response as follows. What is the administrative structure of your organization and what functions and roles has it established to achieve the business objectives? Your response must include the pros and cons of your organization's existing administrative structure in the context of health and safety performance. Your response must be between 250 to 350 words. 3.3 Evaluate the principles of competence, activity analysis, task analysis, and job safety analysis. You have to provide your written response as follows. Principle of competence can be knowledge, skill, experience, behaviors, continuous development, innovation, and accountability. What is activity analysis, task analysis, and job analysis, and what are their significance for the occupational health and safety? Your written response must be between 250 to 350 words. 3.4 Explain the relationships between competencies skills, and qualifications. You have to provide your written response as follows. How are the competence, skills, and qualifications related with each other? Respond in health and safety context only. Again, the written response must be limited between 250 to 350 words. 3.5. Explain the principles of training course design and delivery, the advantages and disadvantages of different methods of presentation, course evaluation and validation, preparing, delivering, and marking tests and assignments, effective written and verbal communication. You have to consider the following as being displayed on your screen when responding to this assessment criterion. Written response must be between 250 to 350 words. 3.6. Explain the external factors influencing individual and organizational competence in health and safety. External factors, you have to consider only these two: health and safety statutory requirements and industry best practices, and the quality management requirements for documentation. This assignment requires you to explain how external factors can influence individual and organizational competence in health and safety. Especially, you need to discuss how health and safety statutory requirements and industry best practices, as well as the quality management requirements for documentation, can affect competence in health and safety in your organization. You are expected to discuss how laws and regulations related to health and safety, as well as the best practices followed by industries, can impact the ability of individuals and organizations to perform their work safely and effectively. You also need to consider how requirements for documenting health and safety practices can influence competence in this area. Your written response must be between 250 to 350 words. The learning outcome 4 relates to the CPD. You have to fill out the continuing professional development form, which you can download from the resources section. Fill this form as you have filled it for the previous units. For your understanding, just assume that a health and safety auditor is visiting your workplace and asking you to provide the evidence of the conformity. The evidence you will present to that auditor will also be valid to demonstrate your competence for NVQ qualifications. So imagine the auditor is asking the following questions from you. What documents, records, or other evidence you will present them to meet the requirements of each question. Each question being displayed on your screen represents the relevant assessment criterion. If auditor asks you, how do you analyze the organization's functions, activities, and tasks and job roles in context with health and safety, and are they serving their purpose or not? Then what will be your response, and what documentary evidence will you present to support your claim? Similarly, if the auditor asks you, do you identify what are the training needs of the functions, activities, tasks, and job roles of your organization related to health and safety requirements? Then what will be your response, and what evidence will you present? And same goes for all the remaining questions. For example, do you identify the competence needs of the individuals as well as the organization? Do you address the training needs of individuals and organization by arranging suitable training related to health and safety? Do you establish the key competence requirements for various processes which may influence health and safety performance? Do you design and develop effective and efficient training to meet the health and safety competence needs? Do you deliver health and safety training effectively and efficiently? Do you monitor the training effectiveness to ensure the resources are not being wasted and imparted training is effective and financially efficient? For all assessment criteria from 3.1 to 3.6, you have to demonstrate your understanding by providing the written response in your own words. The response must be between 250 to 350 words and give suitable examples from your own workplace.